I'd love to for you, if you want to talk a little bit about your different characters and these characterizations that you have, because I think it's, again, one of my favorite things about your comics is coming back and being like, oh, who's showing up today, right? Is it going to be Satan? Is it going to be Gary? Is it going to be Death?
Mhm.
Or your husband, showing up in these various ways? Like, how did you come up with them, and like, how did you develop their personalities over time? Because they have such distinct and lovable characters, I think.
Aw, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, Dot is a cartoon version of myself
Mm-hmm.
without eyebrows. But that's like the number one thing I get. Like, why don't they have eyebrows? I'm like,
Oh,
that's
it's
what
so
you're
funny.
noticing?
I've never even noticed that before you said that. Now I'm going to notice it all the time. But
Oh no. But yeah, I did Dot just because I'll admit I'm vain. I I insert
Mhm.
myself in situations all the time, so it was easy to take her and put things out there.
Hmm.
Death was probably my second character, and like my second continuous character.
Hmm.
I hate I keep going deep here. I try to
Oh, I
off
love it. That's
myself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, back like way before the comic, but the first things with Death were flirtations with Death
Hmm.
and just like silly situations like I'm playing with a socket and a knife and Death is like, "Oh, that's hot." Like just stupid shit.
Mm.
Very early on stuff. It's not good. But it just developed into him hanging out and then Gary was of course for the Beast, but he slowly just became a recurring character because I thought he was cute and then became
Hmm.
my buddy. And then I like Satan just because of that little rebellion, my rebellion against God, I guess.
Hmm.
And God actually has a few comics where he stole a chicken nugget from me, and it's an ongoing feud.
Like the chicken and Peter and Family Guy, that kind of feud.
Kinda like. Have you ever gone and got chicken nuggets and like you get a 10 piece, but they give you 11? And like how, how you feel blessed?
Uh-huh.
That was the comic. And then God yoinked back my 11th nugget. And ever since then, it's been war.
Oh god.
Yeah. So I guess really biblical figures. And then I have family and friends pop in occasionally if it works. But I guess a big one that you've mentioned was like Meeting of the Minds.
Yeah.
I really like thinking back, and I think everyone does.
Hmm.
If I was 12 and I saw me doing this, what would I think of myself? And I just like putting all of me in a room together and talking it out in some
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
So those
I mean,
have
it's literally like
always
a
been fun.
therapy exercise. Like, not even like saying that
Kinda.
that's what you're doing, but like they encourage that. Like, I've been in ones where it's like, oh yeah, like talk to your, your 13-year-old self, or talk to your 8-year-old self, or whatever, these different parts, and like have conversations with them. So yeah, it makes sense that you're doing that.
Yeah. And like, especially during the teen years, how you change so much from like 12, 13 to your early 20s. Like,
Hmm.
I I have a comic about butt stuff, and 16-year-old me is totally against it, where 20 something me is like all for it. And I have to explain you can't use hair conditioner as lube. Like, that's not going to work, you dipshit. But yeah, like the stupid things everyone does. And I think it's easier to admit through a drawing than to
Mhm.
tell someone face to face. Like right now, I wish I just showed you the comic.
Uh,
But yeah, those are always fun. And then I like making parodies of pop culture stuff a lot. The
mhm.
best thing about the comic is I've never limited myself to any one genre, and
Hmm.
it's just whatever I'm feeling. And then I actually get kind of annoyed with myself if I have too many comics with Hubs, my husband, because as much as I enjoy couple comics and relatable or wholesome,
Hmm.
I really don't want to put myself in that corner because I'm not
Yeah.
like that a lot.
Hmm.
Like the wholesomeness is great, but it just feels like if I have to force being wholesome, it's just going to suck.
Well, yeah, and it's funny if I can even say this. Like, I think part of what, and I didn't think about this until you mentioned it, but I think part of what is so um, lovable about your comics is that they're like wholesomely dirty, like a lot of the time, if that makes sense. Like, there's this
Yeah.
like sweet like Disney element to them, and yet they are, uh, thinking about like you have the mermaid one where I think they bring you out. I can't remember what the comic is.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
where
The
where
sirens are
she
singing a song to her, and it's like, oh, it's like I clipped my fingernails or whatever it was.
yeah, the dudes don't get it, but she does cuz I came out in my comic and
Mm,
like Dot got it because the mermaid's gay or bi
mm,
and gay bi pan, but the guys don't get it, so Dot gets it. And then her admitting in like part 2 that she's a catfish, so she doesn't think she's as
mm,
pretty as she actually is, you know?
mm. Yeah.
So I want that to be like come across. I'm okay with wholesome cuteness, but I just can't do vanilla wholesome cuteness.
Well, I think nobody would want that either. At least from you, I think that's part of what's so fun about it. Is like there's this like dance of all those different flavors. You have the personal, you have the sexy, but it always like stays within this space that doesn't feel like I'm just like I don't know looking at porn or some sort of erotica or something of that nature. Right? It's like there's this playful element to it. I'm actually like really curious now that we're talking about it. Like so from my perspective, I'll ask this question first and then I'll tell you what my like guess is, but I have no idea if this is true. Like what are your major like artistic influences? Because from the outside looking in, my guess would be some combination of like Family Guy meets Disney, but I'm curious what like your own like influences are from your own perspective.
So growing up, I really liked Gary Larson and how he
I don't
can
know what it
take
is.
the Far Side comics.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah. So I really loved how he could take just one panel and say
yeah.
so much in just one frame. And like, just from a logistic, that guy got so much fucking work done because
Mm.
I'll spend hours on like 10 panels and he can do it in one. But
Wow.
he was a big one. And then I was very much a Disney kid growing up. I had the
Mm-hmm.
Disney princesses in my room, so obviously Disney was a big influence. And then Family Guy, Adult Swim, like
Mm-hmm.
Robot Chicken and Ventura Brothers, like those more adult, naughty, mature themes definitely
Mm-hmm.
influenced. And then if you look really early on in the comic where it's really awful, but very thin, gangly looking characters, Tim Burton-y. Like none
Mm-hmm.
of it was really purposeful, but I was trying to find my own way
Right.
at that point. So kind of a mix of all of that together into whatever I have now.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.